Hey, hi, David. Wanted to say thank you so much for all the work you've done on Statsfolio. Tonight I'm going to do Portugal and do a predictive analysis of Portugal. We've been working together on the predictive analysis side, as well as combining that with statistics that you've been providing. And as a result, we've got a pretty good package that's quite accurate in its predictions. Sometimes, however, when the situation goes off what we predict and what normal, people change their behavior and so forth, things become different. And we can see that starting to happen with the model, particularly with Portugal, because there's been a major change in the behavior of the people. So let me go to the Statsfolio page. This is for Portugal. We see that there was a massive peak here, which we've understood is the quarter waypoint. This is 1/4 of the way through, or if you like, the first inflection point. What has happened? We come down to have 0 new cases for a couple of days. Happened here. Then, I think people relaxed and thought it was all over, and then went out, and it looks like there was major activity, which has resulted in a impressive spike, and now it looks like people are trying to get down. This is now throws everything off, of course, because it was inconsistent in people's behavior. This is the graph that throws everybody off, because we get 0 new cases. Everyone thinks with 0 new cases that it's done and it's over with. It's not over with until all these active cases here, which we see here, have gone. All these active cases have to go, and this green has to replace all this sort of light blue color here. So right now we're at almost, it's practically back at doubling every day at 90% increase. It was at 1.6, so it was increasing by 160% a day. This is, of course, a graph we've been saying that everyone should look at. This is Portugal. And what we're seeing here is that if we have confirmed cases removed, and I'm going to remove deaths, and this is our active cases graph. This is one we've been saying everybody should look at, and active cases are starting to drop, but you see how the recovered cases are starting to climb. You know, one of the things we've mentioned, when these cross over, you begin to see that is when an immunity is starting to build up within the population. So right now, it's basically, as this should go out and then die down the other side, Portugal is pretty well at the top. It's at the peak. So this is one of the most dangerous times. Well, this is the most dangerous time, is when it's right at the peak for any country. And unfortunately, when that happens, it seems that people think it's all over, because they think this is the peak. This is not the peak. This is only the first inflection point. The peak happens here at the very top. So let's switch over to our analysis page. And here we have our analysis page here. And here we can see on the left we have total cases, which we've matched about 30,000 to 30,000 here of confirmed cases. These should match. Because of that change, where people went out again, I have a much lower active cases than what the active cases actually were. So the active cases were increased by almost 10,000 more active cases because of people coming outside and stuff like that, thinking that it was over. That's why these don't match. But the curve will look about the same, except with Portugal, it's now starting to, I've noticed a very sharp drop on this side of the active cases. I hope that happens and people really take this seriously. So we can use this to get some predictions on when Portugal can end this. Number of deaths are at 1,200. I've way overestimated that with this model. I'm at over 5,000. It's in the ballpark, but not too happy with that, because I've matched the death rate. Where is our death rate? That's our growth rate. This is the death rate historically, which I put in at about 21%. And it looks like here, it's at 21% here, but there were 0 cases here. It climbed, and the doctors have been scrambling and working extremely hard to get this death rate down. So that's the analysis there. One of the things I've noticed that we can see that we've been talking about, and that is this number here, known as the education rate. This education rate is extremely important. It's how the country is cooperating. So that's why I put this in red. This is at 5% only, it's dropped. It was about 7% for Portugal before, but now it's at 5%, which means there's been a relaxation in the quarantine. So moving across, the initial date, the time of first infection, I've put at about 14th of February. We don't have that in the data. It's difficult to find the first one. We've got about 2 or 3 that happened on the first date. It started with about 2 people on the very first date. So obviously it's a couple of weeks prior to that. So I put in February the 14th. The first inflection point, as I've seen before, that was April 10th. It's 56 days between them. The peak date happened at about 14th of May. So I've put that in, and that gives me a more accurate reading of the second inflection date, which should happen, let's see, May, that'll be June 17th. We should see, I'm predicting that crossover on June 17th. And the final date that's August the 12th. So Portugal can basically take a look at the fact that if there's no active cases for a while, the quarantine should end about August the 12th. So I would like to say that this is a fantastic job that's been done by StatsFolio that allows me to make some estimates and some predictions. Of course, they are adjusted as time goes on, and we constantly keep adjusting to try and find out when that target date is for release. And if the people of Portugal, they've always, Roxy and I went to Portugal. It was absolutely beautiful. The people are so wonderful. And it's a very united country because of its history, because of the Coronation Revolution and what happened at that time. Very well-educated, smart people, and they've been on top of this. They've been very quick to get on top of this so far, and they need to maintain this. Quarantine and keep it all under cover. And I hope that you and Lisa are doing well, and that you're all keeping safe. I really hope so. And okay, that is the reading for Portugal as best I can read it. Thank you.